And we talk about the three modes, which is the hunter, farmer, and the fisherman. So in sales, a lot of the time we think of sales as acquisition, which is what I call the hunting role. But one of the most beautiful and potentially the unsung heroes are the farmers, who actually grow relationships through retaining and having those beautiful quality conversations, nurturing those relationships. It is much better to retain customers than it is to have to go and keep finding new ones all the time.
Welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others Leadership podcast with Nina Sunday for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show will help you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
Naomi Oyston. Welcome,
Hello.
Naomi.
Hello, Nina. Thank you so much. It's
Lovely to meet you. And we're obviously both in the same city today. Naomi lives 2 hours north, but she's on her way through, and we decided we'd do the episode together today.
Yeah, much more fun in person, isn't it?
Yeah. So you tell me about your background. You've got a commercial banking background, and how is it that you became a sales expert?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nina. So my background is commercial banking and commercial finance. So roughly around about 15 years in the commercial finance space. So predominantly what my job was sales and service excellence in the banking sector. So working with lots of businesses, from a small business up to a large corporate. One of my roles was with Commonwealth Bank Business Banking, where I was the executive manager for success coaching, and I worked with 130 business bankers from Cairns to Coffs Harbour to help them to reach their targets in sales.
I was just going to say, for anyone else in the world, that is thousands of kilometres long.
It's a big drive. So if you were to drive that distance, you're probably talking about 20 hours distance from the...
Oh, yeah, you can't do it in one day.
From north to south.
Yeah, that's a long way. But that's all right. That's a very wide territory.
It's a big territory. Yeah, that's right. So my job was to be able to support all of those commercial bankers to be able to delight their customers, deliver very high customer satisfaction, but also to hit their targets.
And this was one of the top 4 Australian banks.
Correct.
Are we allowed to say its name?
Yeah. It was with the Commonwealth Bank, which is the largest bank in Australia. So did that job for 3 years. Prior to that, I was a commercial finance broker, which meant that I had to go and find my own clients and build a business writing commercial finance loans. So pretty much what that business taught me was a lot about understanding the drivers of businesses, understanding how to engage with business owners, how to understand what makes them successful, and how to understand the challenges that business owners have to be able to get a really high-performing business.
Now, you've been out on your own for some years now as a self-employed sales consultant and trainer. And so what gave you the idea? Well, what is a sales playbook anyway?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, I guess how things transitioned, I was leading the sales and service component at Commonwealth Bank. Part of that program took me into sales training for the commercial banking sector. Loved the sales training, really enjoyed that. When it was time for me to move on from the Commonwealth Bank, I went into a consultancy business where I studied under a fellow called Jack Daly, who is a US-based sales trainer, one of the best sales trainers in the world. One of Jack's concepts was about the sales playbook, which essentially is capturing and documenting best practice sales behaviours within your business, overlaying them with industry standards. What's the best processes that we've got in sales training, and how do those apply to each individual business? So what is a business's strengths? What's their value proposition? Who's their ideal target market? What are the pain points that we're working with? What's some of the best questions we can ask? And basically bringing sales process into a system that's tailored for the unique needs of the business.
I think this is very well called for, because when I've gone in and done sales training with small sales teams, what I find is, and one of the things I do is find out what are the best salespeople doing that the people that maybe are just average or below average, what are they not doing? And cross-pollinating. And I'm always gobsmacked at how this is what the top order writers are doing and saying, and all the others don't know about it. And I'm going, what is the sales manager doing, not enabling that cross-fertilization?
Correct. So I believe that we all do the best job we know how. But we don't know what we don't know.
That's right.
And so you can send your people off to do a sales training course, and I've done loads and loads and loads of sales training courses. But really, where the rubber hits the road is taking best practice strategies or concepts or behaviors and then tailoring them to your business, your customers, your environment, and having something that actually works for you. Because generic sales training alone doesn't work. A generic sales playbook alone doesn't work. It's when you bring the two together that you actually create that synergy that people can understand, adapt, and unpack and start to apply in their roles.
So what I think I'm picking up is that a sales manager could grab this book and go, this is how I can create my own playbook for my sales team.
100%, 100%. So the sales playbook is a playbook about how to create your sales playbook.
And that's what you have to do, because whenever I do sales training, I'm always customizing it. And it's almost like pulling teeth trying to get information.
Correct. And the big issue that people have when they go to create sales playbooks is that a lot of their knowledge is what we call unconscious competence. In other words, they just, if somebody says, how do you talk to a customer? I don't know, you just go out and have a chat, right? Well, let's unpack, what does having a chat actually mean? What sort of questions are you asking? What are you doing to build rapport? What are you asking them about their needs? How do you position your recommendations? How do you structure that conversation? So the sales playbook teaches you how to unpack each step of your sales and service excellence process in a way that makes it easy for somebody else to come in and understand. So any business who wants to scale and grow needs to create a sales and service excellence process, and the sales playbook is the way that you can capture and document your best practice sales and service excellence strategy that's tailored to your business.
So what's the first step?
The first step is to buy my book.
Oh, yes.
It's called the Sales Playbook.
You've got to get the information.
But all jokes aside, it's basically, the first step is to understand what a sales playbook is and why do you need it, right? In my book, I've outlined every step that needs to be included in a sales playbook, and we also have a downloadable Word template,
right?
That is available on my
link in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely. So people can go online onto my website and download the actual template. So the template is basically a Word document with all of the areas that we need to include in a sales playbook. So I've already got the template there. You just need to follow the bouncy ball and fill in the dots.
That's lovely. And then if they need any help, they can contact you via LinkedIn or your website and maybe engage you. And you work remotely?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for some organisations, the template's going to be enough when it's combined with the book actually explains how to complete each section and what's important and how to engage your staff, how to unpack, best practices from your high-performing people in your team, how to find out what is it that they're doing and how to capture all of that and make it into a succinct document. So the template is there, which supports people, but the playbook actually also talks about, who are we as an organisation? What do we bring to the table? What's our ideal client look like? How do we build our referral networks? And probably at its core, the sales playbook is about creating raving fans. And raving fans is somebody who is delighted with what we do because we understand them better than anybody else and we deliver highly valued solutions to them. We provide that amazing customer experience. And when we create raving fans, they basically do the selling for glamorous. And, there's nothing more beautiful than getting referrals from your most satisfied customers because they're the most likely to convert. They're less price sensitive. They love you already before they've even started. And they're just a delight to work with. So,
now, what if someone's intending to create a playbook, but following your template and your guidelines in your book? What sort of metrics or do they need to get together? Do they need to have their conversion rates mapped out? What do they have to have their scripts or what people say are the questions they ask mapped out? What do they need?
All of that fits into the template, Nina. So there's a place for everything within the process, but essentially there's a lot of content that we do cover, but it starts with who are we and who are we as an organisation and why should somebody choose to do business with us? And I call that our value proposition. So, every business, every salesperson should understand their business's story, their values, what it is that, they bring to the table and what makes us special. And we should be able to tell that story and actually introduce ourselves with a beautiful elevator pitch and things like that. So it starts with our value proposition. The next piece is our ideal customer. And that's really a big, deep dive into who do we most want to do business with. So you need to know what is it that you've got to offer. Who would most benefit from your products and services, and what are the ways that you can help them? The next piece is finding prospects, right? So how are we going to connect with people? And we talk about the three modes, which is the hunter, farmer, and the fisherman. So in sales, a lot of the time we think of sales as acquisition, which is what I call the hunting role. But one of the most beautiful and potentially the unsung heroes are the farmers who actually grow relationships through retaining and having those beautiful quality conversations, nurturing those relationships. It is much better to retain customers than it is to have to go and keep finding new ones all the time.
And the metaphor of the fisherman?
And the fisherman is, I guess the easiest way I could explain the fisherman is our marketing role, right? Which is about putting casting out some bait and casting a net and attracting them to us, right? So, that could be through trade shows or through some online marketing or through some expos or community events and things like that. So it's sponsorships. Yeah, it's basically putting out the bait and seeing if we might get a nibble on the line, and then can we reel it in?
Because marketing is one department and sales usually is another.
Correct.
Often they're not communicating well enough.
Correct. And so there is a piece in the playbook, which is what we call our sales enablement strategy. And our sales enablement strategy brings the marketing and the sales together, but it also talks about things like CRMs and pipeline management and all that type of thing. So what are we doing as an organisation to be able to attract the leads and the opportunities and set our people up for success through our sales training, through our metrics, through all of the different, numbers that you mentioned as well? That's all part of that sales enablement capability piece.
Regarding CRMs, I live and die by my CRM. Without my CRM, I feel like I'm driving blind in a snowstorm. Let's take a moment while I tell you about our new podcast partner, Segwick. Want to unlock the full potential of an all-in-one CRM beyond just data storage? Want to scale and grow with automated business processes? Meet Segwick, the new CRM designed for complex sales, onboarding, and customer management. An all-in-one platform transforming how you manage customer interactions. Segwick provides tools for scheduling appointments, managing client follow-ups, handling customer queries, all in one intuitive interface. And here's the good news. For a reduced fee on your subscription, contact Segwick, that's SEGWIK, using my exclusive link. Visit segwick.com/Nina Sunday today. Link is in the show notes. But I know some salespeople, they want They want their little notebook. They want to use their Excel spreadsheet. Why is there a bit of reluctance on salespeople to use a CRM database? They think, what, they can't see that they're investing time to save time?
Yeah. Look, I think if you look at the personality types of salespeople, so traditionally, if we think of a salespeople, they're generally people that like to talk a lot. And give to the gab, and they typically can be a little bit unstructured. They like to wing it and go after their own style. Now, what I'm going to actually say to you today, Nina, is that in my experience, the best salespeople are actually better listeners than they are talkers. So we have a saying which is don't show up and throw up, which means, your customer doesn't really care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So the best way to build a relationship with a customer is to be interested in them and to seek first to understand where they're at, what's most important to them, what are their opportunities, what are their challenges, and what are some ways that I might be able to help them, right? And so we turn that sales conversation around to be more customer focused than let me tell you all about me, and I've got this great product and I've got that. They don't care until, in fact, that can be quite a turn off. So back to your question about the CRM, I think the new breed of salespeople are quite disciplined, quite process driven, quite structured and quite organized. And the sales playbook is a system, and the system is follow the bouncy ball and do these things throughout every stage of the sales system, and you will be guaranteed to get results.
Now, not all salespeople have face-to-face appointments, but those that do, with the playbook, actually map out what is said and what the process should be and what's the closing question.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So and that's going to vary for every customer and every business, right? So the whole idea of a sales playbook is that you build it yourself that's tailored to your business. So the sales playbook is how do you create your own playbook that suits your business, right? So it's a
do-it-yourself field guide.
Correct. There's a generic process. But you can't buy a sales playbook for your business off the shelf. You've got to build it, right? So my sales playbook teaches you how to build your own sales playbook and what you need to include and how do you tailor each piece to your business.
And have you actually already worked with businesses to create that?
100%. I've been doing these for over 10 years, Nina. So
got the book.
100%. So Jack Daly was my first teacher around about 10 years ago, and since then I've created many playbooks for businesses, and each one is slightly different because each business has its own nuances and its own I guess things that they'd like to include that might be a little bit different to everybody else. But I would say 80% of the playbooks, the concept is exactly the same, right? It's just taking a generic concept and applying it to the unique needs of your business. But the generic component is the same, and that's what's included in the sales playbook.
And what have you observed is the one thing that most either sales managers or sales teams are not doing that if they did do would be like an 80-20 rule, like a 20% action that has an 80% result.
I can tell you exactly what it is, Nina. So the single most important thing we'll ever do is have a conversation with a customer.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That's the highest value activity we'll ever do. If you don't have conversations with a customer, you've got no customers. If you don't have customers, you've got no business. Right. So the most important thing we can ever do is talk to a customer. Yet, how much energy do we actually practice on? How much energy do we actually put into practicing talking to our customers? So in a training environment, I would say probably 95% of my people that I've ever trained, which is a heck of a lot, hate role plays, right? But every single one, but 100% of people, once they're out the other side of the role plays, go, far out, I really needed that, and I've grown so much. Can I tell
you into a little secret? I don't call them role plays. I call them simulations.
Yeah.
People already know that a role play isn't fun. But a simulation, it's like, well, they think like a flight simulator.
I love it, right? So
go right ahead.
If you're not practicing in-house, you're practicing on your customers,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
So the single most powerful thing that businesses can do is practice customer conversations. And my sales playbook teaches you how to frame up a customer conversation.
And would you encourage a sales manager or whoever's leading the sales team? We don't want a team. If it's a business owner, you're the sales manager in that moment. Do you encourage them to actually, especially the people that are getting the better results, writing more orders than the others? There always is.
Yeah.
Would you encourage them to share what they say, what they do, for the others to watch and listen?
100%. So basically, how we work is we set up a group of 3, and there'll be a customer, a salesperson, and an observer. And there's a checklist that goes with it in terms of what are we looking for at each stage of the conversation.
And is that in the book?
It's not, but it's a piece that I can provide if anybody needs. So it's an observation sheet. And basically what we do is we set up a 1-hour role practice or simulation, and each person gets to play all 3 roles. So when we've practiced, and we do 3 different scenarios, which is 3 different customer profiles, right? And so everybody gets to listen to the same conversation 3 times and provide feedback to each other. And so within 1 hour, we can have 3 rounds of customer conversations done with 3 lots of feedbacks, 3 lots of listening to our peers. How would they say something? How would they phrase it? How would they overcome this objection? And it's a really beautiful thing. And, you know, if we could just get our customer conversations right, believe me, that would make the most amazing change to every business. And that's pretty much what I did at Commonwealth Bank for about 12 months, is I listened to bankers have customer conversations. Your results is going to be the quantity of activity that you do, so how much activity you do, multiplied by how the quality of your activity, how well you do it, right, multiplied by your consistency, right. So if I make 10 sales calls every week, but I'm pretty ordinary at doing my sales calls, and I only do a 10% hit rate on them. So if I've got a 10%, a yes rate is 10%. I only convert 1 in 10. Right. And I do that 1 week, but then I kind of, next week I don't really feel like doing it, so I miss it, and I might do it the following week, but I don't have that consistency. My results are going to be pretty poor, right? But if I did, say, 5 calls every week, and I've screened my calling list beforehand, I know exactly who I'm calling, why I'm calling. I've already identified a need. I've got a connector there in terms of the reason for my call. My 5 calls, I might get 3 out of 5 that actually convert. Right. And I do that every week. My results are going to far exceed somebody who's doing 10 calls a week. Right. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality and consistency as well. And what can we do to raise the bar in our quality so we can reduce the amount of quantity? So we can, if we get smarter with how we work, we don't have to work as hard.
Well, I think we've sort of coming to the end of our conversation. We've sort of delved into some of the issues with sales and with the beauty of your playbook. So what are some things in your playbook that you really want the listener or the viewer to understand, that what they'll get by having this as a tool in their arsenal?
Sure. So the concept of the sales playbook is really about working smarter, not harder. So it's about how to create better results easier by following a proven process and overlaying that proven process with best practices from your highest performers within your business. So essentially it's about how do we find out what works within your business, right? And then how do we capture that into a document that other people can understand and embrace and put into practice to be able to start to replicate those practices faster than trying to work it out on their own.
Naomi, I think you've nailed it, because what I've identified with the teams that I've worked with is that whoever is hiring them, it might be the operations manager is looking after them, not a sales manager. And they just go, well, we hire a salesperson to do a good job and we just expect them to do a good job. They're not capturing the corporate memory. So if and when that person leaves, that skill set leaves with them.
Correct. And the sales playbook is your collective brain's trust within the business, right?
Yeah.
So what we're doing is unpacking the best practices from each of the highest performers, because often what happens is, a new person starts, I'll go out and work with Freddie. He's our best in the team. But then, Freddie you get the Chinese whispers where Freddie tells Mary, Mary then tells Billy, and Billy tells Bobby, and the messages get distorted as we scale and we grow, right? So the sales playbook is one source of truth that does capture the best practices and that everybody can sing off the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, lovely. Even when I used to have a large sales team and a support team. I'd sort of done a lifestyle shift and my team is a bit smaller. But I still remember I would have a script for what my assistant in the office would say to call. We're just ringing to confirm that you're happy with the workshop, and I'm wondering if you'd be interested in any other topics. And, I would be listening sometimes, and they were supposed to always not read it word for word, but actually read it and then put it aside. And it's amazing how Chinese whispers really changes as they go, oh, I think I know what to say. And you go, oh, that's really going to switch people off.
Yeah, that's right. It's sales playbook is about finding out what works and doing it.
That's right. And it's not about doing it by rote. But sometimes you have to reread what is working to remind yourself, oh, yeah, we've actually gone off track a little. Let's get back on track.
It's getting your scripts right? So one of the things that I discovered, our most highly satisfied customers, I read 1,000 10 out of 10 satisfied customers verbatims on their feedback. And I looked for the themes. 35% of our 1,000 customers said that they liked dealing with us because we helped them. Right? Was the single most commonly used word. Right. When they feel highly satisfied, it's because somebody understands me and wants to help me. Right. So one of the things that I did back in my Commonwealth Bank days was I asked the teams to use the word help in their opening conversation when they were doing any recommendations. And as they closed off the conversation, look, thanks for our conversation today, Nina. It's been a pleasure to deal with you. As discussed, I'm going to do A, B, and C. Before I let you go, is there anything else that we haven't already discussed that I might be able to do to help you?
Oh,
right.
Nice?
So by layering the word help, just a small word, it just made such a massive difference. So languaging and all of that type of thing is something that's really powerful. And when you can capture what works, document it in your sales playbook, and then do the simulations or the role practices to embed the behaviors, that's when you start to get traction.
And I just remembered what was the change that they didn't say. One of the things they would ask is, would you be willing to give us a recommendation on LinkedIn about your results? But I heard the assistant say, would you be interested to do a LinkedIn recommendation? Boom.
Right.
And I went, would you be interested is a no. Yeah. Would you be willing to is a possible yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So just one word.
Yeah, one word.
So the sales playbook is about getting what works documented and then training it and embedding it and making sure that everybody's following the best practices.
Naomi, I love talking to you. It's really fabulous. And tell the listeners and the viewers your website address. It'll be in the show notes, but tell us.
Sure. My company is called Shine Executive because I actually believe that we all deserve to shine. And so shineexecutive.com.au. And there certainly is a whole page on the sales playbook, and you can download the Word document, which is the template from there as well.
And they can find you on LinkedIn as well?
Absolutely. Naomi Oyston on LinkedIn.
And how do you spell Oyston?
Oyston.
So if you think a little bit about oysters, you'll be on the right track.
That's right.
And I do love eating oysters. Not everybody does, but you're at Noosa, and I think that's oyster territory.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Well, thanks so much, Naomi.
An absolute pleasure.
By the video studio here today. We decided to do it in person. So tell us what you think. What do you think about me having the guest in the room with me? Because mostly they're remote somewhere else in the world. So tell me what you think. And thanks so much, Naomi. And we will We will see. I'll be seeing you again because you're in my
Absolutely.
professional speakers.
Absolutely.
But definitely get the book. I'm going to get the book. Well, I've got the book actually. I'm going to use the book. Is
Yeah,
what I meant.
of course. Of course.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Nina Sunday is on a mission to help leaders transform culture. To book Nina Sunday CSP to speak at your conference, visit ninasunday.com to request a proposal. Nina travels from Brisbane, Australia for in-person presentations Australia-wide. Twice certified virtual presenter, Nina Sunday presents virtually, globally, for any time zone.